Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Possibility Mindset Podcast. I'm Devin Henderson. I am your host, and I believe that something greater is always possible for you. And I am joined today by Mary Messner. Is it Messner or Messner? How do you...
It is Messner.
It is Messner.
My parents still say Messner,
Do
but
they?
it is Messner.
You can't get them to change.
No.
Yeah. As parents sometimes get stuck in that way where it's like, come on, mom and dad, but whatever. Now it's endearing, right? You
Sure.
enjoy that. Yeah.
Sure.
You're
Yes.
like, sure, but no. That's funny. Well, hey, I have to say this is the first time we've had two guests in one day. That's the illusion. I'm wearing the same garb 2 weeks in a row. So I don't know why I'm pointing that out, other than the fact that it's good, like time management, when you can lump things together. I guess that's the golden nugget here.
I like it.
All right.
It's a good one.
I'm glad you like it. That's cool. We want to say thank you to Etc. for hosting us and just for the wonderful coffee and the creamer. And the water is incredible around here. Am I right? They're ice.
Yes.
So anyway, I can't say enough good things about Etc. and their liquids. But seriously, we appreciate you. Also want to talk real quick about mud water. I see you're a coffee drinker. That's
I am.
Great. And so I've been a big coffee drinker for years. Today, I'm 199 days off coffee. Got my mud water here, which is what I want to tell the guests about. A lot of you know if you've been following mudwater.com/Devin is where you want to go. The link is in the show notes. That's mud and then water with no vowels, WTR.com/Devin. 35 milligrams of caffeine in this thing. So I can have like about 3 of these and it'll be about the same amount as coffee. So the whole point is to see if this nutrient-infused drink is going to help me gain more clarity, more focus, help me sleep better, get my energy back. It's mushroom based. It's also got cacao for taste. I put honey in mine. It tastes like hot chocolate in the morning. So anyway, try it. If you're kind of on the am I drinking too much coffee type of space, join me on the Mudwater journey. Let's just see if it makes a difference. My goal, I've decided just in this second, is 1 year. I'm past the half year mark. So
Congratulations.
We'll see what happens. Thank you, Mary Messner.
You
I appreciate that.
Welcome.
How'd I do? Is that all right?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay, cool. So try Mudwater. Check out the link in the show notes. We'll see if that works also for you. All right. I feel like since this is my second one of the day, I've never done 2 in 1 day. It's not like I'm trying to get through it, but I feel like I'm in such this zone flow that I'm just like, I know what to do. I know what to say, which is probably surprising because you're probably going, what is this guy even talking about?
Not at all.
All right. So anyway, watch the full experience on YouTube and subscribe on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up. Share this link with people who Mary is going to benefit. And give us a 5-star review on Apple and comment. That'll help us extend our reach. And we appreciate you for all of the purchases you made through our affiliate links, listeners. Thank you so much. And thank you to Ashley and Zach for helping out too. Zach's behind the camera. Ashley is behind the scenes as our new podcast producer. So really appreciate her. Okay, Mary.
Yeah.
Now that all that is sort of like, we get to like focus on Mary. All right, so let's do this. You ready for your introduction?
Absolutely.
You get an introduction like this when you're speaking. Mm-hmm. Is this the same intro we use when you're speaking, or is this the podcast intro?
It's probably similar, depending on the audience.
Yeah.
I highlight some stuff and downplay others.
Yeah, because you're not exactly speaking today. It's like we're talking more about you.
We're friends.
We're friends. That's what we're chit-chatting.
Yeah.
We don't even really need the intro, but we're going to. We're going to because she deserves it. All right, so here we go. Today, I am joined by a trailblazing free thinker. I love that. Who challenges you to create something unexpected. Her name is Mary Messner, as we now all know, the former healthcare exec turned keynote speaker in tireless defiance of the status quo. Watch out. I love this. This is amazing. With bold ideas and a little bit of fire, she ignites a creativity that turns inspiration into action. And by asking, what if? That's great. I asked the question, what else is possible? You ask, what if? Same idea. She moves audiences towards possibilities they always had the power to achieve. That's interesting, right? They've had this power always within them. I love that. And unlocks the confidence needed to pursue them. So here she is, everybody. My newfound friend, Mary Messner.
Hey.
What's up?
How are you?
Good. This is our first time actually meeting in person.
Yeah.
We got connected on LinkedIn, I don't know, a few months ago. Through a mutual friend,
Yes.
Frank Keck. Frank,
Hey,
what's
Frank.
up, my man? And so when you said, hey, I met Frank, and Frank said that you two need to connect, it was like, well, if Frank tells you to connect with somebody, you darn right better connect with him because there's a good reason for it. Right?
Yeah, no, he's great. And it was one of those nice things. I think that's the beauty of something like LinkedIn. He said, "Do you want me to make the introduction?" And I said, "No, I'll reach out." And you were receptive, and it was great.
You're a pro. You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Frank, have you joined the National Speaker Association? Are you familiar?
Oh, I'm familiar. Okay. I have not,
okay.
And I have attended as a guest some of the local events. Okay. It is probably something that is maybe on my future to-do list. I'll continue exploring. Are you a member?
Yeah. It's complicated, Mary.
Okay.
It's a great organization. For me, it's as of late, I've never really been able to invest at the local level just because of, other priorities, which we'll talk about. But then at the national level, I got my CSP. Mm-hmm. I went every year. And then after like 2020, not a coincidence of timing. It was just kind of like I'm quit going to national after that. Yeah. So not that there's not value there, but just like I don't know. It's kind of weird how life just kind of changes. So we'll talk later about that. So. But anyway, my first time going, I was in a competition called So You Think You Can Speak. It was for like new members, and so it was like. All people who had been in NSA, I think less than 3 years, were in a competition, kind of like So You Think You Can Dance, but So You Think You Can Speak.
Was this local or at the national?
This was at the national level, yeah. And so I got chosen from our chapter to be in the competition. And so when I got there, I think I was like the top 10 because they sent one from every chapter. So it was an honor to even be top 10. Sure. Well, I ended up placing in the top 3. They only gave first place to Allison Massari, who was awesome. And they didn't really give second and third place. They just said, you two are after her. So we were like, okay, we're tied for second then, I guess is how we'll look at that. But Frank helped me prepare for that.
Oh, that's cool.
He took me to his church and he said, get up on the stage and do your 3 minutes, because I was going to do 2 3-minute segments in the competition. He just sat there and then just gave me feedback about and really helped me with it. And then he also, when I wrote a mini book, read the whole mini book and gave me his thoughts. So what I'm trying to say is that we have a really solid mutual friend here in Frank Keck who was willing to go out of his way to help people, and just an incredible guy. So, yeah.
I love that.
So that's awesome.
That's more than I knew about Frank going into this too. So I have even more admiration for him. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, there you go. So Mary, let's talk. This is our first time meeting.
Yeah.
And so I'm super curious to know about, what you speak on. I'd love to hear backstory too if we're able to get there. But what are you doing right now? What's the Keynote speaking space look like for you? And what are you doing for audiences?
Well, I will say that the heart, I love that you talk about possibilities, asking what if. The heart of what I speak on is this idea of creating the unexpected. And I use that phrase because I do believe that if we give ourselves permission to dream really big, there are things that we can't even see in front of us today. So you talk about possibilities, I talk about the unexpected. Yeah. And the heart of it is a model I call Dream, Feel, Do. And I created that Dream, Feel, Do. I'll walk you through it.
Do. Okay. I like that.
I created it by studying what I've done. And I'll give you a great example. I've always taken jobs that I had no idea how to do them. But they sounded interesting. They sounded like a challenge. So I started them with a bit of a dream. Mm-hmm. What if this could be something successful? What if I could achieve something that I didn't see possible in front of me today? And I'll differentiate something between dreaming and goal setting. Okay. Dreaming is something that you actually don't know how to do. Okay. It's something that feels a little bit out of reach and causes you to stretch. Goals, on the other hand, you're like, yep, okay, I got my 5-step action plan that's going to get to my goal. They're more tangible. And I believe those two are both important, but without the dream, the goals just kind of become a task list that causes you to, navigate day to day. The feel part is probably the most important in all of this. So let's say you name your dream, and I'll use myself as an example. Yeah. I'll throw the dream out there that I want to be a highly sought after keynote speaker. Mm-hmm. And in my own, journaling, there's a lot more details behind that, but we'll start with that one. Mm-hmm. That only works if I know the feeling that I'm going after. If I were to say, okay, I'm now a highly sought after speaker, what does that feel like? Mm-hmm. And to me, it's an important dream because that feels like ownership. That feels like impact. And when I say impact, I'll define that further. The first one being that it's an opportunity to reach more people with this message that we're talking about here.
Okay.
But the second one, for me personally, it's an opportunity for me to then control my own time and my funds to be able to decide how to put that back into the community, the people I work with, invest in others. So impact is an important part of this.
Yeah.
If I were to go down that path of achieving that dream and the feeling led to chaos or busyness or overwhelm, then I'm not going after the dream in the right way.
Now, does the feeling happen in your imagination before the fact or as you're starting to pursue? Okay,
Before.
so you're imagining. Okay, got it.
Yeah. But it's a great way to keep yourself in check.
Totally.
So if that feeling starts going off the rails, then it's time to recenter yourself, revisit your dream, remind yourself of your priorities. Yeah, so when I think about this in a workplace, it's the same type of question. You go into a corporation and to be able to say to them, what's your dream? Oftentimes they say, well, we want to achieve this amount in revenue, this amount in profitability, and stop the conversation there and say, okay, think beyond that. What is something that you actually don't know how to achieve? So it simply could be, we want to be the number one, let's use Chick-fil-A as an example.
Well,
okay, we'll go to Chick-fil-A.
Speaking my love language, because my daughter worked there for 3 years.
Oh, really?
And we just talked about Drew Severance, operator and owner-operator. And Will Severance, shout out again, was on the podcast in the past.
Awesome.
Okay, anyway, so
great
example.
Good.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'll pick Chick-fil-A
All
because I think everybody understands that. So you go to Chick-fil-A and you pull into the drive-thru, and what happens?
There's like children out there with iPads being like, we're going to make your day better.
Yeah, safety vests and iPads. And they're like
iPads.
all over the place.
they are
right?
like ants
in
a good way.
Yes. But you go to every other fast food restaurant and that's not there.
Right.
So I have not spoken with anybody from Chick-fil-A, so I'm going to put some words in their mouth here, maybe out of turn.
Let's do it.
But I'm going to assume at some point they said, we want to be the most efficient drive-through that any of our customers have experienced.
Yeah.
How to do that? No idea.
Right.
The second part would be, how do you want customers to feel going through that experience?
So it's not always about how you feel it's about how the people you serve. It could be
the people you serve. In the workplace, I think oftentimes it's the people that you serve, the employees that work for you, the consumers that continue to come back again and again because there is a feeling that they get interacting with you. When you're doing your own dream, it's definitely internal. So when I'm speaking to audiences, I'm talking about encouraging the dream and then the feeling for whoever it is that they want to accomplish or to accompany that dream.
Okay.
And I'll also acknowledge that message isn't for everyone. There are people that are like, no, like profitability. That's what I'm focused on.
Which feels good.
But there are people at a company or customers that do want something bigger. And so even if you're not doing it for yourself in the workplace, do it for the team of people that you work with or those that you serve. The last part of the framework is do. So when I say dream, feel, do.
Okay.
And I bring that one up because I'd mentioned dreams are something that you don't actually know how to do.
Yeah, right.
When you start down the path of achieving those, if you've created this culture in the workplace that allows for limitless possibilities, for thinking big, for working outside of the quote-unquote box and just challenging the current state, the things that can come from that, the things that you go do to achieve the dream, they already know. People know how to do that. You just have to give them the freedom to get there. And it was what you said in the intro. Like we can figure out how to get there if we turn off the limitations, if we open ourselves up to the possibilities.
Yeah.
So that's in a nutshell what I speak on.
That's so great. Well, it sounds like our messages are very similar.
Absolutely.
And you talk about the dream, how it's different from goals. Now, I've kind of used the phrase seemingly impossible goal, which implies that if you know how to do it, it's not achievable. My friend Mark Camp calls the same thing we're talking about here his BUD, big unreasonable dream. So it's very more aligned with what you're saying, that it's like this. If you know how you're going to do it, it's not big enough, right?
100%.
If you're not confusing people and making them say what, it's not big enough, right? You want people to think you're crazy for dreaming this big.
Yes.
So much good research and so many good books support this. Like 10x is easier than 2x. Some of these books are just like incredible. That like Mr. Beast, what he did in 5 years, went from a guy in his mom's, I don't know, house to like famous YouTuber in, just like 5 years. And so that's awesome. So that's great. Dream, feel, do. That is a great nugget, So what listeners, let us know, if you're in comments or if you're seeing a bit of this on YouTube, let us know. How are you dreaming, feeling, doing? Just curious. So then for you, what does that look like in your life right now? Dreaming, feeling, doing for Mary Messner. Obviously there's this keynote speaking thing, but from what it sounds like you're involved in a lot of things, right? So what all is going on in your life right now where you can apply this concept?
Well, the first one, and you and I spoke about this a little bit, is this keynote speaking journey for me started at the end of 2021, just starting a business and saying yes to a lot of things, not knowing the path, not knowing what the right steps are to take to get to this longer term dream. So saying yes to a lot, exploring a lot of different business opportunities, if you will, things that kind of help pay the bills as you're navigating this new journey. And throughout all of that, there was the feeling piece of it is probably when that came to life more, because I would go and do a coaching session. So I do some coaching and walk out of that and ask myself, did that give me energy or did that take energy? And sometimes it gave me energy. Sometimes I walked out feeling really, really good. And other times I walked out feeling like there was an impact that I was trying to make that I wasn't quite getting through. And so as a result, I still do some coaching, but I've dialed that back significantly. I've learned that's not an area that feeds me the way that I want it to.
Wow. So that feel thing really served you there.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, that's legit.
Big time. And both going into it, knowing the feeling that I wanted to accomplish, and then afterwards saying, did I get there? Not entirely.
Right.
So it becomes a little bit more selective. So that's probably the work evolution. The other piece that I spend a lot of my energy on is with a nonprofit called Madam President Camp.
Okay.
That is, and you'll appreciate this.
Yeah.
It is a program exclusively for middle school age girls.
Yes. Because I'm a middle school aged girl. That's why.
That's totally why. Has nothing to do with daughters.
No, it has nothing to do with my kids. Madam President
Camp. Madam President Camp.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Tell us about this. What is that all about?
Yeah, so it's an organization. It started about 11 years ago. When I left my corporate America gig to start my own business, I actually started working with them in a part-time capacity as their executive director.
Okay.
I'd heard of them. I'd spent a little bit of time with the organization. I reached out and said, I'm building a business, so as I'm doing that, I have some time that I'd like to put some energy into. You all need an executive director. So I worked with them for a few years, part-time.
Wow.
The whole focus of this program is specifically middle school age girls, so 11, 12, and 13.
Tough age, or tough time of life.
Well, and that's the reason. Yeah. All the data says that starting at age 8, confidence begins to dip. Girls start questioning who they are.
Yeah, what was that stat we had that it's like maybe you're going to cover this, their confidence drops 30%.
Yeah.
During this, from 8 to 14, boys of the same age report confidence levels 27% higher. So interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating. This program was started because of that type of data.
Right.
And we focus on confidence, building confidence, but we do that through leadership development.
Okay.
And I say development, but I'll caveat that a little bit. What's important is having these girls understand that they already are leaders. They don't have to change who they are. And that's important, I think, for a middle school age girl and for anyone in adulthood as well.
Yeah.
To think that leadership looks like the loudest person in the room, the person that can command a room.
Right.
And that's one definition of leadership, but it actually takes all kinds to be able to effectively lead. So we walk the middle school girls through that, help them see themselves as leaders. But the second piece that is probably more important is bringing in the idea of civic engagement.
Okay.
So you're now a leader. You get to go do something with that leadership voice.
Yeah.
Create change in the community around you, whether that's a school, a church, a neighborhood, the world, future Madam President.
Yeah.
And helping them understand how to do that. What does it look like to commit to something, an area of activism, and take action towards change? That's the foundation of the program. I love it. I mentioned I was executive director for a few years. I'm now the board chair. I moved into that position last fall. We have camps kicking off here in about 3 weeks.
Nice.
For the summer.
Where do they have the camps?
All over Kansas City.
Okay.
We partner with different locations.
Okay.
So some in Missouri, some in Kansas. We go to a lot of college campuses. And then last year, we expanded into the St. Joseph, Missouri community. There's a group of women up there that brought it to life there, and they're doing that again this year.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, it really sounds like you're applying that Dream Feel Do to be, like you're saying, get out, do the civic work, helping them feel more confident. And I'm obviously you're making them dream big just by the title, Madam President. That's I love that. That's really cool. Now, was this partly inspired because, like me, you have only daughters? Was that?
Well, that was part of, so the program was started by two women here in Kansas City. One of them had daughters, has a daughter, and couldn't find programming for her. My involvement with them was absolutely encouraged by the fact that I have two daughters. They're right now 7 and 9.
Okay.
That oldest one
Coming
is
into
at,
that time.
they are.
Yeah.
And that oldest one, I'm seeing some of the changes. Just the occasional comments that are very normal, but the shift of her paying attention to someone else's perspective, maybe more than her own perspective. And oh man, that's, as a parent, there's a piece of acceptance because there's normalcy to it. And also, man, you want to let them hold on to that internal wisdom that they already have. And
those are some transformative years. Our oldest is 16, so we've got all around that. We got 16, 14, 12, 9. So we are right in that where you're talking about. And it is the way they change. It's beautiful to watch them change. The hardest part for me as a parent is watching my kids grow up, but it's also the best part. Because I'm like, it's like my babies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just love these little babies and they grow up, but it's so cool to see them grow into these awesome young women. My oldest just got an internship with our church, for this summer, and she's so pumped about that, and I'm proud of her. And just, the others are in dance. And so it is just good, that they're doing these things, these activities, but I love how you're pushing that civil side of things too. Kind of that serve and be aware of what's around you, and you can make an impact. You can help other people around you be inspired to dream also. So
absolutely,
that's amazing, awesome. Well, and you've got tons of. I don't want to glaze over. Okay, you went to KU. All right,
I did.
And it was Health Information Management, which took you into the corporate world.
Yeah.
And you were awarded the 2024 American Heart Association Kansas City Woman of Impact Award winner. Congratulations!
Yeah, thank you.
What was that? How'd that feel? What was that all about?
Oh, that was wild. In January, so I'll back up and say the last several years, I've been a member of a group of women here called Circle of Red.
Okay.
Where we donate funds to the American Heart Association.
Okay.
So it's a commitment to financially support the organization, but also great opportunity. The women that are a part of this are just brilliant. So it's an opportunity to connect with some really wonderful women throughout the Kansas City area.
Yeah.
In January, I received an email that said you've been nominated to be a Woman of Impact for American Heart Association.
And do you know who nominates you?
I called some people. I said, did you? I made a couple phone calls and said, do I have you to thank? I wasn't sure at this time if that was actually going to be a thank or not.
Yeah. Did you get a confession?
Yeah. I figured it out. And actually one of the women, Haley Haar, who was the winner the previous year, who's a great friend of mine, she was one of the people. So I can blame it on her, but I can also thank her for that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that launched a 2-month whirlwind fundraising campaign to raise as much funds and awareness about heart disease in women. And that it became, in some ways, kind of a full-time job. I felt like if I'm really going to focus on doing this, I need to give it all my energy and effort. And then back to the dream part, I had never done a fundraising campaign like this before.
Sure.
And I had to go ask, hi, will you give me money? And that is uncomfortable and awkward, and also a fabulous growth opportunity and experience.
Yeah,
and
right.
the biggest lesson from that is if you're asking for something and you are passionate about why you're asking, the ask becomes kind of no big deal.
Yeah.
And then the other person, it's up to them to say, yes, I'll support that, or no, I can't right now.
Well, and it's kind of like
Both are
sales
fine.
in general.
Yes.
You know, if you believe in what you're selling, you don't feel guilty about, okay, buy this. Yeah, you probably don't want it, do you? It's like, no, this is going to make your life better, or someone's life better. And you're in this case, right? I believe in this cause, so I that's huge. Yeah, purpose, your why.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
That's
yes.
amazing.
Thank you, Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He listens. He's my biggest
he does,
fan, by
I'm
the way,
sure.
if
Hey,
you knew that.
Simon.
Yeah.
And so the willingness to stretch, to ask. I had several team members that helped me engage people around the Kansas City area. I had a lot of local businesses that supported as sponsors. Ended up raising about $73,000 for American Heart Association in 2 months. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Wow,
My
2
mom,
months.
yes, my
Nice.
mom's a heart disease survivor, so it was really
okay.
cool to kind of walk along her side, both through that experience of watching her struggle with heart disease and to celebrate where she is now and know that what I was doing had a direct or has a future direct impact on the next person, whether
Yeah,
that's her again or me or my daughters.
Yeah. Wow, again, congrats on the award. That's fun. Is there a big banquet for that?
There
Or did you walk
was.
across the stage and shake hands with some nobles.
Sort of, yes.
All
Yeah,
right.
they did a big luncheon. The coolest part is my daughters were able to come.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool.
You buy tables and tickets,
Okay,
and I asked
yeah.
to the team, I said, can my daughters come? Can my mom bring them? Just
Yeah.
because they'd been cheering me on. They had
sure.
both donated money. They'd taken
wow,
money
that's
out of their
cool.
bank account.
No
Here's
way.
$10, Mom.
That's great.
They felt invested in the process, so they got to come, and I have the video footage of them and their excitement.
That's cool.
It's just, I've watched that footage countless times.
Mm.
And that, I think, you go back to the idea of impact, being able to make an impact. That's a perfect example of having a platform in this community through my speaking engagements and through the networking that I do, to then turn around and ask that same network to support me in something that I was doing, which translates to a direct impact on something like heart disease for women. There's really no better feeling than that.
Yeah, that's great. So, one interesting thing I noticed about you, I saw that you used to be afraid of public speaking.
Oh, yeah.
So, which is really common with people,
Yeah.
and now it's like you're a keynote speaker. So was this like when you were transitioning to speaking? I know in your healthcare job, you did some speaking already, right? So you kind of were getting used to being in front of audiences. So tell me about that fear and how you've overcome that, and if you still deal with it. A lot of speakers still do.
So I was a fast talker. I'm not a slow, speaker.
Right.
And I've learned to control that better. But I'd always been a fast talker. I remember my speech class in college. So I went to KU. Did you go to KU?
I went to K-State.
Oh,
So
Okay.
so that's why we're such good friends.
That's all right. My husband went to MU.
Did he? Oh, wow, that really
Which
is
now
a
it
house
doesn't
divided.
matter as
Okay.
much, but like back in the day,
back
that
in
was
the
a
day,
big
and
deal.
my wife and I met at K-State, but a lot of her family went to KU. So
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, it's all
so
good.
we're all friends.
My speech class. I mean, I have like a vivid memory of the first speech that I had to get up and give, and I chose to speak about Parkinson's disease. My grandfather had Parkinson's, was dealing with Parkinson's at the time. Chose to speak on that, thinking, it's something that I know about. It'll be fine. And I got up in front of the classroom. I told this story recently to a group of third graders, and I'll bring you up to speed on that too. But I thought I was going to pee my pants.
Yeah.
Like that's the sorry, listeners.
No, yeah.
That just
It's
full
a
honesty.
legit
That
emotion.
it is, yeah. And I spoke so quickly, and I didn't remember anything I was going to say, and I was done in 2 minutes.
Because I had a public speaking class. I went to Johnson County Community College first, had it there. So we had to like know what we were going to say, basically script it out, and then strip it down to an outline. Had you prepared like that,
Yes.
but it just for some reason was just gone?
Yeah,
Okay,
and I don't know why. I have no idea
right.
what brain processing was happening, but I was terrified.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is because I was trying to position myself as an expert on Parkinson's, and I was not. I had a personal experience with it, so I was trying.
Imposter syndrome. You just didn't have a name for it.
I mean, I think I was trying to bring something to life that it wasn't the right message for me to bring, and that's I've learned now as a speaker that what you're saying is. You got to feel it and believe it. For sure.
I forced many a messages.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, yes, when my first job out of college was over a research medical center in Kansas City, Missouri. Yeah. I was the director of health information management, and I had to start giving speeches to the executive team and to the physician team.
Okay.
And I was then speaking on things that I'd become an expert on because it was my job, and I knew the answers, and I knew the objections that could come in. I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of cool and that was actually
know it, right?
Yeah, that was a stand behind a podium with the little microphone, very formal.
Right.
But I'm like, okay, all right, this feels pretty good.
Yeah.
And then I was at Cerner Corporation for 14 years. And while I was there, I was certified to teach a lot of their courses, their training programs. Mm-hmm. And man, I really started to like it. I liked interacting with a room full of people. I liked trying different things, different ways to say a phrase, to catch someone's attention a little bit differently. The last job that I had there, the last several years, was working with a team of people where we stood in front of a room and we provided education to a subset of individuals from the VA, teaching them how to use data and analytics to improve veteran outcomes. But part of that, just like you mentioned with Frank Keck and all the critiquing, there was about 5 or 6 of us, and we would present to a big empty room minus the 5 or 6 of us.
Yeah.
We'd pretend like we had this full room, and we'd deliver our content. And it would be everything from adjusting a movement with our hands to our foot placement to how fast or how slow or how loud or how quiet, we were talking.
Totally.
And I learned to perfect it.
Yeah.
And I had a friend of mine here, his name's Mike Allison, pulled me aside one time and he said, you're one of the best I've seen. Wow. You have a career in this.
Nice.
And that kind of started another dream journey for me of like, maybe, I don't know how I would do that. That sounds scary. But it planted enough of that seed to say, I'm going to go figure out how to do this.
Right. Wow. So that's how it all started.
That's how it all started. Yeah. Yeah. That I remember exactly where we were standing in this hallway by the stairs next to the bank of elevators. And he said those words. And it's a pretty powerful moment. Yeah.
It's funny when you can remember the moment. I remember the moment of, I remember my magical journey, but when someone first told me you should be a speaker, it was Mr. Del Foods in Kearney, Missouri. One of the ladies who came up afterwards, it was a wife of one of the workers, and she said, you should be a speaker. It turns out she used to work for the 5-star speaker bureau here in town, and she goes, you need to meet with Brad Plum, one of the guys who, owned the other bureau before they merged. I think it was called Midwest something speakers, and had lunch with him. And I can remember every moment where I was, because when things like work really well like that, you look back. I have to remember to thank those people. I told Brad Plum, thank you so much for having breakfast with me.
Yes,
and point me in the right direction. Yeah, and thank you, Mindy. And so that's awesome that you can trace that back. And here you are. Doing it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, also in your work with Cerner, it sounded like you guys did some really cool things during like the COVID time, like the no standing Friday meetings. There was a bunch of other things that caught my attention too, like no meetings before 9, from 12 to 1 or after 4, no attendance at meetings unless your presence is critical. I love, this is my favorite part. Don't ever apologize for the kids, the noise, pets barking. Like, you cannot apologize for that, because that is like a given. Because I'm sure you get tired of, I'm sorry. It's like, we welcome all of it, So I can imagine people got so tired of Zoom calls, so back then having the awareness to set the culture and the standards for that.
Yes.
That was key. How did that develop? Who had the awareness to say, let's make these more fun, more doable?
Yeah.
How'd that come about?
Well, I was leading the team at that point, and we all remember March 2020. I mean, that's another one. I remember the moment in time when I went, oh, this is a thing.
Yeah,
I was in Branson, Missouri on spring break. Yeah.
Oh, you were? That's when it hit you?
Yes. And, our team we were struggling, but also trying. I think it was this weird time of saying, okay, this is now normal. We can do this. We're going to cheer each other on. And then there were those moments of total overwhelm. And my kids were 2 and 4 at the time. And, and my husband was working, and we're both home, and I'm at the dining room table. The same thing that everybody can relate to.
Yeah.
And this, I'll tie this back to Dreamfield too. I remember calling the team together and thinking, what if we could architect this to where it actually worked and you all felt okay, probably not great because that was the nature of the situation, but you felt okay and you didn't feel as overwhelmed. What would that feel like? And we talked about that, and I said, I don't know how to accomplish that. So let's brainstorm it. What's our wish list?
Okay.
This was that kind of big, bold idea.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What's the wish list? And on top of that, how can we support each other to get there? So people from the team threw the ideas out there. Well, we got breakfast going for the kids in the morning and getting them set up on their computers to do school.
Right.
Let's have no standing meetings before 9. Cool.
So smart.
Same thing after 4. Same thing over the lunch hour. And Cerner had a very meeting-heavy culture.
Yeah.
The other big thing is we made a commitment to each other that prior to this, everybody would show up for meetings because they would say, well, I really just want to understand what's happening, so I'm gonna join the call.
Okay.
We dialed that back fully and said, we are going to trust the people that join the call to make the right decision.
Okay.
And we're going to self-select out if we are not adding immediate value to the conversation. So our meeting schedule dramatically decreased.
Wow.
And then, we said, Friday, we're not doing it. What if this could be a 4-day work week? What would that feel like? And the amazing part was, for many of us, it did turn into a 4-day work week. And we accelerated our timeline for some projects we were bringing to life for the VA. And we did that by imagining what was possible. What if we tried this differently? If it didn't work, it didn't work.
Right.
But man, COVID was a perfect example to say, I'm going to try something completely unconventional and give it a shot.
Yeah.
And I'll add in there that I don't oftentimes ask for permission, so I wasn't going to my executive leadership saying, hey, can I do this?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if it worked, it didn't matter to them how we got there.
Sure.
It mattered that it worked. So
that's the part you were talking about earlier about giving people freedom to figure out, because sometimes the people, the executives don't really, if they're not in the day-to-day work and the daily grind, they can't see the solution like you can. You're closer to it. So I love that they allowed you the freedom for that. Otherwise, that might have never happened.
Yeah. Well, in the team, again, it was my team that came up with that list of rules, and they're the ones that trusted each other enough to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. No, I when I read that, I got excited. Like, it's like something. Hindsight's 20/20. No pun intended. But it's like so many people could have benefited from that sort of a structure.
Yeah.
Because people just got so burnt out on all that. So and I think that's like the message now too. That it's like allow your people to be a trailblazer like you are, and figure out, help find those solutions, and collaboration's key,
Yeah.
Helen Keller, alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. So I love that. So I am curious, I am like, okay, since we just met today, officially, I'm curious a little bit about the backstory. You went to Shining Mission East, I went to Shining Mission Northwest, but we don't have time to maybe go all the way back for you, but can you tell us what a day for Mary looks like if you had nothing to do, no obligations? How do you recharge? and maybe even like boost your creativity. What kind of things do you do to get into the best headspace?
Oh my goodness. This is where I'm going to sound like a total nerd.
No, let's have it.
Well, having 2 young kids,
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so we'll play this scenario out. Kids are at
Chick-fil-A.
their,
No, I'm not.
well,
All right.
Sure, by themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
The kids are at the grandparents' house.
Okay.
And my husband is out of town. He travels for work sometimes.
I like how this dream starts with all of the people she
I'm
loves
alone.
the most just going somewhere else. It's like, yeah, honey, go. Cody, goodbye. All right.
You asked about recharging.
That is true. That's fair. That's fair. No.
There's so much value in alone time at this stage of life. And even my husband, I'll have my headphones in and I'll be, I don't know, doing the dishes, and he'll come in and say something to me and he'll say, this is one of those moments that you just need to be alone, isn't it? And I'm like, yes. And he knows that about me now. So that's, for me, the biggest gift that I give myself is moments of quiet, of being alone, and also cleaning. Oh my goodness.
Okay, all right.
I am not
therapeutic for
well,
you,
it is.
then? Yeah.
I'm not a clean freak by any means, but I think when there is chaos happening, having a space that feels comfortable and organized, and the really cool thing about cleaning is it's something that you can do and see. So I spend so much time in this world.
My wife would be giving you a hug right now.
Okay,
that is totally, this isn't weird. I'm like, I like an orderly place too.
Yeah.
But she'll be like, okay. I'll be like, do you want to go away? Like we've talked about her going away and just getting her hotel. And she's like, what if I stayed here and just cleaned?
Yeah,
like,
what if you guys went away?
Therapy. Yeah, right. Yeah. Like I'll leave. But no, so I totally makes sense.
Yeah. And I think I spend so much time in this headspace of dreaming and of thinking big and of honestly not knowing how to accomplish all that I want to accomplish. And that gives me so much energy and drive. And there's something really beautiful, though, of grounding yourself in your immediate space and creating an environment that feels peaceful and controllable, so that then you're right back into that, that headspace of being able to think in a totally different way.
So this perfect day for you might not even mean leaving the house at all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Are you an introvert?
No, I wouldn't say that I am. I would say I'm more of an extrovert, but I do appreciate solitude at times.
Even extrovert need that.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, let's get alone. It finally catches up to you after a while. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I'll say the other, my husband and I, our perfect date night is probably doing a project together.
Okay.
We've renovated both the homes that we've owned together,
nice.
Little things like that sense of accomplishment, and we do projects really well together. We have a lot of
You're good. Come on,
lot of fun with all
you're
of
fine.
that.
Yeah, no, you're good. No, dude, don't worry about it.
And then I even think the moments when I pull my kids in is probably watching, you mentioned them growing up, how beautiful that is, watching those moments where they're discovering who they are and a sense of freedom, and it's just, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, that's great. So in terms of like, say, sparking your creativity, do you need those moments? Do those look different, or does that kind of come in, hey, I'm cleaning, and I'm getting ideas, or like whether you're writing a keynote speech or thinking of creative ways with the charity, are there things you do? For me, it's walking in nature. Yeah. Like if I'm like, I need ideas, that's what I can't do it sitting in front of my laptop, Jogging doesn't help. Like driving kind of helps, but walking in nature. Do you have something that's just like the ideas start to come easy? Yeah,
it's actually when I am laying in bed at night.
Oh, really?
It takes me forever to fall asleep, but I have written entire keynote speeches, and I think it's a silence thing. There is no distraction. It is dark. It is silent. It's just you and your thoughts. And those are probably the moments where my best ideas have come to me, or my best speeches have come to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The out walking, I love that. But I'm constantly taking in the world around me, which then becomes a distraction for me.
The laying in bed at night, sometimes I have had many stroke of genius.
Yeah, and I remember them the next day. Some people are like, I don't remember what I think about in the middle of the night.
You don't get up and write them down or anything?
I don't.
Oh,
I do remember
lock
them.
it away.
I rehearse them. I'll come up with the idea. I mean, I will spend hours rehearsing whatever. If it's a keynote, I will just rehearse and rehearse and rehearse.
Yeah.
And then I'm tired the next day, but also energized by that midnight breakthrough.
That's great. Wow. Okay, so if people are like need a keynote speaker, it's Mary Messner.
Yeah.
She's in Kansas City, but travels all over. So what's your website, Mary?
Mary Messner.
MaryMessner.com. It's so good to get your name, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
When did you get your website?
Well, my website started out as Highline Creative Group.
Okay.
I'll give you my backstory there.
Yeah.
My business LLC is Highline Creative Group because the creative part, again, is just, it's important to me that all of this is a creative process, how you dream, how you feel about things. And when I started that company, everybody said, oh, creative, you're an ad agency, you're a graphic design firm. And I was fighting that.
I see, yeah.
I rebranded more publicly as Mary Messner. So I still do work. When I'm doing consulting type of work, I do that as Highline Creative Group. When I'm speaking, it's all branded as me. You're hiring me.
Right.
So website, I mean, I think I got that 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
I have a lot of websites that I had the midnight idea, and I'm like, I'm going to register it.
It seems like today it'd be like, because I got Devin Henderson like 20 years ago. It just seems like today, like, in recent years, it like all the names have been taken because people have just eaten them up so they can sell them. So that's cool that you got your name.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, cool. Okay, so MaryMessner.com.
Yeah.
And is the keynote have a title?
Create the Unexpected.
Create the Unexpected.
Yes.
There it is. Do you need your people to create the unexpected? Well, they can innovate by dreaming, feeling, doing, right?
You got it.
It comes down to creativity, innovation. I love that. It's really about transformation and chasing those dreams. So awesome. Well, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate you being here. We'll have to do it again sometime when
I'd love
to. We'll find out what's going on. We'll do part 2 with Mary. Okay, awesome. Well, before we wrap up, and I do have one final question for you. You would have heard it. I asked Jason the same question earlier, so maybe you've had some time to process. But let's say one more time, thank you to Etc. Shawnee for hosting us here. Also visit Mudwater. Go to the show notes, click on the link, see if it's right for you. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment. That really helps us to extend our reach, and people who need to dream big, this message will be great for them. So, all right, before we sign off, this is helpful because you have daughters. So no doubt you're a keynote speaker. So if my daughters were right here, what's one thing you would tell them?
I think that I would say what you bring to this world is important and necessary and valuable, and it looks just like it looks for you. You don't have to change to be someone else or morph yourself to try and fit into somebody else's definition of who you're supposed to be. And I'll expand that to the idea of confidence, because that's a big topic for young girls. And we oftentimes consider confidence as similar to leadership. The loudest person in the room, the person that can stand on stage without getting nervous. And also, confidence is dancing in your room for your daughters that are dancers when nobody's watching, and just having full expression of who you are. That takes confidence. Or, the parent that loves to read bedtime stories to their kiddos in silly voices, that takes confidence. So for a young girl to find those moments where she feels 100% confident, and as a parent to celebrate those and help her see that that's also something that she should celebrate for herself. If she can latch on to that, that'll carry her for a long time.
That's great. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. My daughter Eva, she's 7. I have notes. You'll see. Look at my Girl Talk notes. Look at that. I have these Girl Talk notes that go. I just write down their name, their age. Oh, it's right at the top. Eva said, "Dad, if I have my own room, I'm going to dance whenever I want. Even at night, I'm going to practice my dance moves."
I love it.
I know, isn't that funny that it's like that she's thinking, if I were alone and no one was watching, this is what I would do. And that's exactly what you just said, you know, and how confident.
She feels so confident there. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you want them to just like hang on to that, embrace that, you know.
Yes.
So,
and when you're in those moments where then you're on stage and people are watching, remember that feeling.
Yeah.
And that'll is what will propel your success when you're in different environments. But being really honest about that moment that you feel incredibly confident, let that carry you.
I love that. That's so great. Thank you. All right, Mary, thank you for joining. Appreciate you being here. We're going to sign off with kind of that question. You know, you ask what if, I ask what else is possible. Same thing. So, excuse me, I'll say what else, you say is possible. And we'll let the audience take that question and run with it today. All right? So here we go. Embrace the possibility mindset, which means that you never stop asking the question, what else
is possible?
We will see you next time.